Welcome everybody back to the Digital Nomad Sessions. My name is Mitch Asser, your host, and really excited about today's guest. We're talking with Tyler J. McCall. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Mitch, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I'm excited to talk about this because we're talking about Instagram. Like out there, people who are digital nomads and business owners, who doesn't love Instagram? It's something that we've all been excited about for a long time. And I think the platform is evolving quite a lot. And I think you're someone who's been at the forefront of like understanding how we can capitalize as those changes do happen. So for anyone who doesn't know Tyler yet, let me introduce him and then we'll dive into today's topic. So Tyler J. McCall is an Instagram and social media marketer, strategist, and coach for online business owners. He teaches his students how to use Instagram with intention to grow their community and their business. Tyler focuses on using Instagram and social media to tell stories, build relationships, and convert followers to fans, drawing from his 10 years of experience in nonprofit marketing and management and community organizing. He's taught thousands of entrepreneurs and managed dozens of Instagram accounts since getting into the online marketing game in 2015. He's based in Asheville, North Carolina, where he lives with his husband, Eric. When he's not coaching or teaching, Tyler enjoys target runs and road trips, and he documents those on his Instagram stories as well. So today we're going to be talking about how to generate leads and sales using Instagram. So Tyler, I guess the best place to start is like, let's just have a bit of a high level overview of why that's so important and also how it's affected your life and business since thinking about Instagram that way. Because I think like, especially if people are getting started in the online world, where they're wanting to become digital nomads or start some sort of business, they think that the followers is what it's all about, where it's not so much about the amount of followers, right? It's more about how can we turn those into loyal customers. So take it away on sort of the high level overview of why this is so important.
Yeah, definitely. So this really comes from the realization that we can't do things like buy plane tickets or, pay our rent or pay our cell phone bill or buy a new laptop with our likes on Instagram. Now there's some ways we can get around that when you're doing influencer-y kind of things and, getting sponsored posts and all that good stuff, but you can't necessarily sponsor your entire life away. So the reason I approach Instagram the way that I do and help my clients do the same is because the important work of an Instagram account is really the work of connecting with the right kind of people that are looking for a solution to a problem, and then having a conversation with them and presenting your solution as the best option to solve that problem for them. And there's lots of ways we can do this: the content we create, the conversations we have, how we leverage different parts of the platform. But at the end of the day, as a business, your goal is to make money, and money funds your lifestyle. It helps you reach your goals. It helps you hire help for your business. It helps you live the lifestyle you want. And if you aren't focused on using Instagram to turn followers into customers, then I really believe you're just kind of wasting your time. And this comes out of the background that I have. And when I started using Instagram, I actually started doing it for other people. I wasn't really posting for myself that much, but I had a marketing background. I knew how to build a community online. Back then, it was through experience on Twitter doing community organizing. So I took all of that over to Instagram and started running Instagram accounts for local businesses, for brick and mortar businesses, gift shops and restaurants and hair salons and jewelry stores and businesses that needed to see some kind of return on what they were doing, and who getting 10,000 or 100,000 followers didn't really make a big difference for them because they were only serving people where they lived. They just needed to get in front of the right people. So that was our focus. It wasn't on trying to get them tens of thousands of followers. It was getting the right follower to fall in love with them on social media enough that they would walk through their doors and buy something. And then I translated that into what I started doing for myself because it was working for our clients. And I thought, oh, wait, I should do this for myself as well. So started creating content, started creating relationships, and I was able to grow my business from 70,000 a year to over 700,000 a year in revenue in 1 year. And I did all of that with less than 20,000 followers on Instagram. And now we run a 7-figure business, going for a multi-7-figure business this year with like 30,000 followers on Instagram, right? And I teach Instagram marketing. So really the focus is not on the number of followers. And the reason I talk about this so much is because that's where so many people get hung up. They say, well, I'll start making more sales once I reach this follower number? Well, I'll be able to start getting people to my blog, or get people to book me for a discovery call, or get them to join my email list once I have the swipe up. And they're putting all these excuses in place, all these beliefs that are just holding them back from success on Instagram. When everything you want to accomplish on Instagram, you can do right now with 100 followers or 1,000 followers. You don't have to wait until you have 100K. You can start seeing those results right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If we ended this conversation right now, like even just that realization and that mindset shift for people would be super valuable, and they probably transform their lives and businesses just from that. I know I've personally met people who are sitting around sort of like 8,000 to 9,000 followers on Instagram, and they're so caught up in getting to that 10,000 because that's when brands want to work with them and pay them, you know, maybe $1,000 for a post. But that little shift in mindset to know that you can build a big business by providing really great value on the back end and products and services, you could turn that 10,000 following into $100,000 business, $200,000 business quite easily.
Yeah, and it's the realization, and this is a little bit of a, like, this may sting a little bit, so just hold on to what you got. I don't want this to hurt you too much, but you really have to ask yourself, you have to just be really honest with yourself about your ability to currently get the people who are following you to buy the things that you're selling, or to be bought into the idea around what you're sharing. Like, do they understand what you're doing? Do you have the numbers when it comes to an email list, or number of clients or customers or brand deals, whatever it is, based on the number of followers you have right now? And get really honest with yourself and ask yourself, is getting more followers going to be the solution to that problem? Because if you can't get the people who are following you right now to buy what you're selling, you're not going to be able to do it when you double your following. That doesn't solve the problem. What you're really dealing with is a marketing problem, with a messaging problem, a positioning problem, with a branding problem. You have to get all of that nailed down first. And that's what we help our clients do. We have a whole program where we call it an Instagram program, but it's actually a whole marketing, branding, messaging, and positioning program. And we just kind of like say, also, you can do all this on Instagram. So it's a little bit of a Trojan horse there. But the thing is, you have to get really clear. And I know we're going to talk about some of these details, but you have to get really clear on what you're trying to accomplish on your Instagram account, and do that now. Do that really well with 1,300 followers. Don't wait until you have the 13,000 followers to start doing it, because the thing that's going to attract the followers and help you get to 13K or 30K or whatever that number is, whatever the magic number, oh my God, I've made a number, is for you, you have to start showing up now with the content and start connecting with the people that are already there. And that's what attracts and helps you grow the following.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that. So we're sort of diving into the steps and on how we can actually do this already, which is really cool. So, I mean, yeah, let's continue diving into that now. So when we're thinking about using Instagram for leads and sales, where's the best place to start?
Yeah, so the most important thing is that you get really clear on who you want as a follower on Instagram. And what that requires you to do is to recognize that you don't want everyone as a follower. There's actually a lot of people you don't need following you. And the best businesses on Instagram who are really seeing the most results, and this comes from my experience and all of the students and clients that we help on Instagram, the folks that are seeing the most results are those who are just as willing to accept people following them and be really excited about people following them as they are about people not following them or people unfollowing them, because you want the right person to follow you. So get really clear on who that person is. And listen, you could literally just Google. I'm sure other speakers have already talked about this, or will talk about this. Ideal client avatar, ideal customer avatar. Like, it's super, there's probably 1 million downloads, podcast episodes, YouTube videos out there about this topic of coming up with that ideal person that you want to serve in your business. But what's really important is not that you just know, they're 33 years old and their name is Savannah and they love, blind lattes at Starbucks. Like, all that's great and fine and well, and you can think about that, but you need to understand, what are they afraid of? What are their hopes? What are their dreams? What are the things keeping them up at night? And how much is this problem that they're experiencing costing them? Like, what's it costing them in terms of relationships, in terms of happiness, in terms of success, whatever it may be. And when we recognize that pretty much all the products and services we're selling are helping people either with their love life or with their financial life or with their relationships and their connections to other people or themselves, we kind of can put all of what we're doing into those buckets. We can start thinking about who we're trying to reach more strategically. And the goal here is to get really clear on who this person is, because we only want that person to follow us. We don't want anyone else to follow us. And this is why getting caught up with chasing followers or getting to that 10K or whatever it may be, this is where people get in trouble, because you start attracting really shitty followers. And what happens is you build this huge following of all of these people, and then guess what? They don't want to buy your stuff. They're not engaging with what you share. They're not responding to your Instagram stories. So why did you do it? So you could go out and get a brand deal? Well, y'all know that world is always changing and shifting, right? Like, it's not going to be like it is right now. And brands want to make sure you actually have engaged followings before they give you $1,000 for whatever. Also, I hope folks realize too, I'm sure they're experiencing this, a lot of brand deals nowadays are like a free thing and $100 Amazon gift card, that regardless of the number of followers you have. And again, you can't really pay your rent with that. So get really clear on who you want as a follower, and at the same time, get really clear on who you don't want as a follower. And what a lot of people don't realize about the concept of attraction is this: they want to attract more people to them. They want to attract the right kind of audience. They want to attract more followers. Well, magnets also have another purpose. They repel. You need to push people away at the same time. So that's the first step. Get really clear and get cutthroat with yourself about who you're trying to reach on Instagram, and realize that you're not there for everyone.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And like you said, like there's a million downloads out there and a lot of people talk about it, but it's because it's so important. And it's something that, you know, I know I hate doing it at times, but I know that the more that I continue to refine that process and think about, you know, as I shift, like, you know, where am I? And as I get feedback from the people that I'm communicating with, like, what's it starting to look like now? So yeah, I love that. And it's such an important part. And I definitely encourage everybody to not skip this step. Otherwise, it's like the foundation, right? And the rest of it's not going to work. So yeah, it's amazing. All right, continuing on. So let's say we've got a really clear customer avatar. We know who we want to target. Where would we go to now?
Yeah, so then we can start talking about the content we're going to create for that person. So again, this is this foundational approach. A lot of people, they're like, I want more Instagram followers. What strategy can I use to get more followers? Well, there's some work you got to do before then. So get really clear on what content you're going to create for this ideal person. And think about the different areas within Instagram that you can create content, because Instagram is actually 4 platforms within one. You have the Instagram feed, you have Instagram stories, you have Instagram live, and you have IGTV. So you have 4 different places where you can create and share content. Now, you don't have to do all of them at the beginning. Maybe eventually you'll grow into creating content for every single one of those things, but a lot of people get really lost here and trying to create so much content across Instagram. So what I encourage you to do is focus on getting really good at content for the feed and getting really good at creating Instagram stories consistently. Those are the 2 most important things. The reason why is because the feed is where people are discovering you and where they're making those follow decisions. Think about it from your perspective as a user of Instagram. Whenever you find out about a new account, or whenever someone likes 5 pictures that you've recently posted, or a random person follows you that you've never seen before, you go to their profile typically, and what are you looking at? Well, you're typically looking at their profile picture, their bio, maybe their Insta story highlights, and then those top 6 to 9 posts. And within a minute or less, you are making a decision about whether or not you want to follow that person. So the feed is important for that follow decision. And then every time someone's content shows up in your feed, you're either agreeing to continue to follow them, even subconsciously or passively, you're going to not unfollow them. Or I'm sure if you have this image, something pops up in your feed and you're like, who the heck is this? Or where did this come from? And then you go find this person, you're like, I do not remember following them. Or their content changed versus what it was like a year ago when you followed them, and you unfollow them, which is totally fine too. So pay attention to how you're using Instagram as a user, as a content consumer, and think about that when you're creating content for your follower. So create consistent content for the feed. And the biggest mistake people can make in the feed nowadays is thinking that more content is better. You can't beat the algorithm. I'm sorry, but Mark Zuckerberg is smarter than us, or at least his computers are. I hate to admit it. And posting more often doesn't necessarily trick Instagram into showing your content more often. The algorithm is really your friend, by the way, because it ensures the right content is shown to the right person at the right time. And what happens a lot of times is trying to post all this content in the feed every single day, once a day or twice a day, you're going to burn yourself out. That's a lot of content to create, and eventually your content quality drops. So what we encourage most of our clients to do is 2 to 3 times a week in the feed. That's all you have to worry about. 2 to 3 really good posts in the feed every single week that are showcasing your brand, that are capturing you and who you are so people know, so they can fall in love with you, that are sharing stories, that's sharing a tip, a trick, an idea, or that's challenging a thought or belief that your followers currently have that is preventing them from purchasing your product or booking you for your service. So that's that consistent feed content. And then stories is where the real magic happens on Instagram nowadays. And the reason why is because the majority of Instagram users now spend their time on Instagram stories. And Instagram stories lead to direct messages at astronomical levels. And the amount of content people are consuming in the stories format is more than any other piece of the puzzle of Instagram. So showing up on stories is really important. It also gives people a chance to see your face, hear your voice, look you in the eyes, and to experience your life and your work with you. So what we encourage our clients to do is post on Instagram stories as often as they can, at least 5 days a week, if at all possible. And the important part of the stories piece here is that you create your Instagram stories following a specific method. So we teach our clients this method. It's called the story arc method. And don't worry, it's not that secretive or that complicated because you learned it in like the 3rd or 4th grade. And that is the fact that all good stories have beginnings, middles, and ends. So when we create Instagram stories, we have something at the beginning that sets the tone, that lets people know what they're going to experience. Then we take them through that experience. It could be behind the scenes. It could be a day in the life. It could be taking them on a trip with us or taking them as part of an experience. It could literally be you just saying, hey, today I'm going to share my top 3 tips for this. And then you share your top 3 tips. You take them through that experience. And then we always conclude our Instagram stories. This is super important because as humans, our brains cannot handle cliffhangers. And you realize this without even thinking about it because there have been times where you have started a new show on Netflix at 7 p.m. as you're eating dinner, and before you know it, you look up and it's 3:30 in the morning and you're 6 episodes deep and you have to be up in like 5 hours to catch a flight, and you don't know what you're going to do because you have to finish. You only have 2 episodes left. What are you going to do? You have to finish the series, right? That's how addicted our brains are to resolution. So whenever we're creating an Instagram story with no conclusion at the end of it, we are training our followers that they're always going to be left lost and confused at the end of our story. And over time, they're going to get annoyed by that and they're going to start ignoring you. And that's the real danger for you as a content creator on Instagram. Being ignored is one of the biggest risks for what you're doing on this platform. So stories should always have an ending. So that's it for the content. There's IGTV, there's Instagram Live, there's all these other things. What about a hashtag? What about, should my feed be pretty? Should I use this preset from this person, or should I use this? Should it have that, the orange blogger look? Like everything has like that orange haze on it now. None of that really matters. Okay, pick a vibe, pick an aesthetic. What's most important is that you're creating and sharing content consistently. That's the thing that makes all the difference.
Amazing. That's that you actually read my mind there. I was going to bring up some questions that I'm sure so many people would have of like, how long should the post be? How many hashtags should I have, and all that type of stuff. So I guess, what the underlying message of all of this is that strategy is way more important than the tactics that we're all told about is going to make a massive difference on Instagram, right?
Exactly. And what you need to understand as the content creator is that, and I can sit here all day long and talk to you about Instagram, and other folks can teach you about Instagram. Anything that we're sharing is through our perspective of how we use Instagram or how our customers or clients are using the platform. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different niches on Instagram, of different industries, of different markets, and everyone responds differently to different types of content, right? Like the fact that Instagram is a platform where meme accounts can exist, and also someone like Brene Brown can post her work, and Harry and Meghan, as of the time of us recording this, can announce they're stepping away from the royal family, all in the same platform. Like, that's nuts. Like, all these things. And also someone can just like shit post photos of their cat or like what they had for lunch. Like, all that can exist in one platform. That's ridiculous. So there is no one size fits all type of content you should be creating. There is no, this is the perfect number of characters in a caption. There is no, use this hashtag every single time. Just not true. And anyone who's telling you that, it's bullshit. It's just not true. It doesn't work like that. What you have to get really good at is really understanding your audience, and how you're positioning and messaging yourself and your product in front of those people. And then you have to become a master at knowing your numbers. And I know the people right now that are rolling their eyes and groaning because they have this limiting belief that they're not good with numbers. It's not true, okay? You can figure out how to leave a tip, you know, when you go out to dinner. You can figure out how much your friends need to Venmo you for that thing you bought that they shared with you, right? You can figure out some numbers. It's not that hard. And you have to get really good at just paying attention to what your data is telling you. And one of the things that we teach our clients that makes this super easy is that you need to approach what you're doing on Instagram with scientist goggles on. So going back to school, think about maybe when you took chemistry in high school or even in college, and you would approach an experiment, some assignment you had from your chemistry instructor with a very specific process. It was called the scientific method, where you come up with a hypothesis, you test it, you observe, you measure what you did, and then you try it again. And the thing about the scientific method that makes it work so well is that there's no emotional attachment to the result. You're just trying something. But for some reason with Instagram, we approach it with this idea of, well, if this post doesn't work, if this story flops, if I don't get the number of followers I want this month, I'm a horrible person. No one likes me. I'm terrible, awful, evil. This is never going to work. I might as well pack up and go home, right? Instead of approaching it with scientist goggles and saying, listen, I don't know how the heck this thing works half the time, but I'm going to try something out and see what works. And I'm just going to pay attention to my numbers. And that will make all the difference for you. I promise that will make all the difference for you. If you just approach it with those scientist goggles, test different types of content, test different aesthetics, test different themes, test different caption links, test different hashtags, and just keep a note of your numbers. What was the engagement like? What was the reach like? How did it help your following grow? How did it help you get more direct messages or maybe more visits to your website or blog or whatever that link is in your bio? And just start paying attention to those numbers on a weekly or a monthly basis, and then let your strategy grow and change, dictated by what happens with the numbers.
Man, so many truth bombs in here. I'm loving this so much. Cool. So we've got those first couple of steps. So we've got our customer or our avatar clear. We're creating great content. We're using stories in the feed the right way, or, you know, if we choose IGTV or live, then we're doing those the right way. What's the next thing to think about when we're going on this journey?
Yeah, so from there, then we can start thinking about how we grow our following, right? So we know who we're trying to find or who we want as a follower. Then we're creating content for them. Then we can start growing our following. So that's where we can use different strategies to make that happen. We teach a pretty detailed process of finding your ideal follower on Instagram through different ways. Hashtags is one of those ways, target accounts, locations. And then the key here is that we're going to find potential followers, then we're going to follow those folks back to their profile and engage with them by liking and commenting. We're not going to follow, unfollow, because that strategy isn't really effective and it kind of leaves you feeling a little sleazy. We're not going to buy followers because it doesn't work, so stop doing that. Instead, we're going to focus on building our following one person at a time, remembering that there are real people behind these devices and we're just trying to connect with them and have a conversation with them. So the key thing here with follower growth is to know that it takes time. It does not necessarily happen overnight. And the other part of this is that you don't have to do it all yourself by just going out and finding followers. You can actually leverage other people's profiles to grow your following as well. So doing a podcast, being a part of a summit, guest teaching in someone else's community or program, or even doing an Instagram stories swap with someone or an Instagram takeover of their account for the day are all really great ways to get in front of new audiences and grow your following without you necessarily having to do all the legwork of getting more followers to your profile. So that's the next piece. We know who we're trying to find, we create the content for them, then we go out and we find those people, we engage with those people. And then the last part of the puzzle is having conversations with them on Instagram that will allow us to turn that person from a follower into a fan and from a fan into a customer.
Absolutely. And yeah, let's dive into that in a second. I have one question just in terms of what you're mentioning there about the growth of the platform. I really want to give everyone at home who's watching now a really strong takeaway on that section, because I think it's something that's a lot of people are going to be very interested in. And And once they get a little bit of momentum in that space, I think that's what keeps people going as well. So out of all of those things you mentioned, from you know, engaging with others on Instagram to doing guest posts and Instagram story swaps and Instagram takeovers and those types of things, out of the either your account or the accounts that you've seen, your clients and your students, what would you say would be the most effective strategy out of all of those in the last month or so that people could start today?
Yeah, so I would encourage you to, once you've really nailed down your content strategy, and this is really key here, because what you can't do is go out and try and find more followers if you don't have a solid foundation of content for them to come back to. Because they're going to see you on this summit, or they're going to hear you on a podcast or whatever it may be, and they're going to come to your profile and they're going to say, well, there's nothing here for me, so why should I follow? Why should I pay attention? So once you've nailed down your content strategy, the best and easiest place to start is by connecting with other Instagrammers and doing an account swap or an account takeover for the day. Super simple, super easy. You'll want to look for people that are in a similar or same niche, that are serving a similar or same client. And this is where, you know, say you're a service-based business owner, and just a really kind of generic example, but maybe you're a copywriter for creative business owners. Then maybe you want to find someone who is a CFO for hire, or a bookkeeper for creative business owners. Or maybe you want to find someone that's a brand strategist or website designer for creative business owners. And all you're going to do is follow that person, genuinely engage with their content for maybe a week or so, and then make the pitch. Send them a message and say, hey, I love what you're doing. We serve a similar audience. I would love to create some content for your audience, and I would love to have you create some content for my audience for like a day. And, you know, would you want to like trade Instagram accounts for a day? And I'll teach on your stories, you come teach on my stories. Super simple, it's mutually beneficial, because who doesn't want a chance to not have to create content for themselves for a day, right? And it's a super easy way to start building relationships and start building some momentum. So you could probably do that. You don't even need to find someone. A lot of you watching this, you probably have a biz bestie or someone on Instagram you talk to regularly that you could send them a message right now and say, hey, do you want to trade Instagram accounts next week? We'll figure out all the details later, and you can make it happen. And you're going to get new eyes on what you're posting.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. That's super cool. Awesome. So we're growing that following as well. And then, yeah, we started to allude into turning those into customers and things like that. So what's the next step to think about?
Yeah, so this is where direct messages become really, really important. And there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle and a lot of steps here, but a few main things I want you to think about. The first is that I want you to do your best to keep your followers on Instagram. A lot of people have this tendency to get their followers because that's what you've been taught, and you think like, well, I can't keep everything on Instagram because it's a social media platform and it could shut down tomorrow and then I wouldn't have any of my followers. Yeah, all of that is true. Also, Instagram is literally going nowhere, so calm down, okay? The only people who are telling you that and are trying to get you to like stop focusing so much on social media are people that are trying to sell you programs about email marketing, or trying to sell you a website, or trying to sell you an email provider, right? It's all marketing. That's all it is. So Instagram's not going anywhere anytime soon, but it's true. You don't own your followers. If Instagram were to go away, you have no way to connect with those people. But the biggest mistake you can make is trying to get all those people who are following you on Instagram to leave Instagram to go follow you somewhere else, or to opt into something somewhere else, or to go read a blog post somewhere else. Because think about how people are on Instagram, what they're doing on Instagram. They're on Instagram to be on Instagram. They're not on there to necessarily leave and go other places. Yeah, they may see an ad that pops up for something they want to buy, and they may accidentally buy it, which may or may not be how I ended up with a $300 beanbag in my living room. But that's typically not why people are on Instagram. They're on there to escape something, right? To be a part of something. So one of the biggest mistakes you can make is by trying to push them off of Instagram. And we have this whole concept we teach our clients called relational capital. And the idea is, simply put, that every time you're asking your followers to take an action, whether that is to engage with your post, leave a comment, send a direct message, or go to the link in your bio, look through your link tree of 3 to 5 different links, click on a link that goes to something else, that goes to something else. Like every time you're asking them to do stuff like that, you're taking money out of this relational capital. And we replenish that, we rebuild that through the content we're sharing and how we're having conversations with people. But different actions, different requests of our audiences cost more than others. So many people are spending so much of their time and energy building this following, creating the content. And then their only ask is, go to the link in my bio to do this next thing. And it's really passive. I think, quite frankly, it's downright lazy, because you're just expecting your person to go do this thing, when so much of what you want them to do, you could take care of yourself. So some ways that our clients do this, and what we teach them, is if you're going to write a blog post, for example, of the top 10 ways to do X, Y, or Z, or my top 3 tips for this, all that blog content can come to Instagram in the form of Instagram posts, Instagram stories, Instagram live, IGTV, whatever. You don't need to send them away to the blog post. Let people get to your blog post the way that people are intended to get to blog posts, through Pinterest, through Google, through using search engine optimization, maybe through sharing in a Facebook group or something like that. If you maybe have a podcast that you want to get people to, you have to send them away to the podcast. But how much can you do on the platform to keep them there, to get them really excited about the podcast? And then when it comes time to doing things like building an email list or getting people to inquire with you about working with you, because for most businesses, those are the 2 things we're trying to do. We're either trying to get inquiries for discovery calls or sales calls, or we're trying to get people on an email list, because then we can sell them our products through an email funnel or through some kind of sales sequence. Those 2 tasks, all of that can be accomplished right on Instagram through direct messages. You don't necessarily have to send them away to something. And this is why waiting until you get the swipe up is the biggest mistake you can make, because the swipe up's function is simply to make all of this way more passive and easier for you, but not necessarily easier or more effective for your follower. So let's say you want to get someone to download a brand new resource you created that you would want to do in a swipe up. You would simply hop on stories and say, hey, I created this thing to help you do this or that. If that's something you're looking for help with, send me a DM right now so I can get it to you. And once they're in your DMs, you can either send them the link directly to download the thing or to opt in for the thing, or you can take it a step further and say, thanks for the message. I'd love to get this to you. What's your email address? Is it okay if I add you to my email list to send you other promotional emails? Please note, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know all the details of GDPR and X, Y, and Z and all these other things, but you can collect someone's email address in a DM and then get them to and add them to your email list. You can do this yourself. It takes a few seconds on your part, but you're not letting the person get lost in the shuffle. Same thing with booking a discovery call, right? Send me a DM if this is something you're looking for help with, and you can have a conversation right there and book a discovery call. Or you can even have sales conversations via DMs. So we just wrapped up a launch at the end of 2019 that generated over $700,000 in revenue. About 80% of those sales came through an Instagram direct message conversation, which is incredible. Over $600,000 in revenue through, or no, sorry, excuse me, over $500,000, $500,000 in revenue through Instagram direct message conversations. For some people, it was the entire sales conversation happened via DM. For some people, it was, hey, what was that link again for the sales page? And sending them the link, but having that point of contact for people through an Instagram DM. So DMs is where it's at. It's where the magic happens. And one last thing I'll say about this, and I'll shut up, because I can be a little wordy, is that we can't expect, you cannot leave this conversation that we're having today and just start showing up on Instagram and asking your people to DM you and expect them to just start DMing you out of nowhere if you have not done it before. So I don't want folks listening to leave this interview and then get really disappointed and start sending me hate mail and saying, you don't know what you're talking about because I'm doing it. No one's responding. You have to get your audience used to engaging with you in that way. And that's why consistent Instagram stories are so important. They need to see you regularly. They need to have you always asking for engagement. And this is why what we teach our students is to come up with content that is outside of their product or service or their business. And for folks in the digital nomad space, this is really easy for you because your whole life is content. Everything you're doing is an opportunity to create content that may not have as much to do with the product or service you're selling or the opportunity that people have to work with you. And the reason that's so important is because we can create lifestyle-oriented content about our family, about our travels, about pets, about food, about exercise, about spirituality, about TV, whatever it may be. Creating that content then gives people an entryway to have a conversation with us that is not about our product or service. And that way we're building a relationship with people that's real, that's genuine, and that's not just with the goal of monetizing that relationship. And the only way to do that is by consistently creating Instagram stories. And the best part about stories and asking for the DM and asking people like, what should I have for lunch today? Or how are you spending your afternoon? Or I'm going to go to the beach this afternoon. What are you doing this afternoon? Or I have a new free resource. Send me a DM if you want it. Or I have an opportunity for a free coaching call next week. Send me a DM to book it. The best thing about doing that on Instagram DMs is no one sees if no one does it. The only person that knows is you. There's no social proof like there is in the feed or on IGTV or Instagram Live. No one knows. So the worst thing that happens is no one DMs you. Guess what? You can try it again next week and see how it goes then.
Yeah, amazing. I love that. That's so valuable and such an important part for people to understand. And you know, I'm sitting here with like just thinking back to all of the things that I've done over the last few months. I was like, I've got a lot of work to do on Instagram, that's for sure. Tyler, this has been amazing so far. We're coming towards the end and about to wrap up. Is there anything else that you want to cover in terms of all the steps that we've just talked about now?
The last thing I'll say about all of this is that it does take time. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed or daunted by this, because I get it. It totally can. It's like on top of everything else you're doing in your business and everything else you're doing for your life, now you have to think about all these different parts of Instagram. But all you have to do is simply show up as a real human being, talking to other real people. One of the core values we have in our company and a way that I approach Instagram is this idea of people first, people always. Like, that's all that matters. I just want to connect with real people, help them solve problems that they have in their life, and do that through products. And for us, mainly products. We don't have any services. We sell digital products, and do that through the products we create. And knowing that it's going to take time to build relationships and to find the strategy that works best for you. So what we tell most of our clients and folks who come into our program is that we ask them to commit for a year, because I don't know if you all realize this, like a year goes by so quickly, especially when you're running a business. Like, there's so much that happens and it can fly by, that we just want you to be committed to yourself, to your business, to your product, or to your service, and to using Instagram more thoughtfully for a full year. And I want folks listening to really think about that. Like, how much more would be possible for you in your business, or building a brand, or building or on your entrepreneurial journey, if you were really committed for a year? Like, you're going to give this a good old college try for a year. You're not going to back down. You're not going to quit when it gets too hard. You're not going to run away when it gets overwhelming. You're going to figure out how to make it work for a year. And that's the same approach for Instagram. And what we see time and time again is our clients and our students that get the most results are those that are the most committed to playing out for a full year. And all the results are incredible. We just wrapped up 2019, and we're hearing from our clients. One of our students who she was actually on the fence about going and getting a job and quitting her creative passion, joined our program, started using Instagram more intentionally. In a year, completely turned around her business. She launched a new revenue stream. She made more money in her business last year than she had ever made before. Another client who made more money in 1 year using our strategies we teach on Instagram than she made in the 4 years previously combined in her business. Someone who paid off $50,000 in credit card debt in 1 year using just extra money she made via Instagram DMs. Someone who retired her husband because of the money she was able to make from Instagram. So time after time, story after story of people who are seeing these results, but they are the people who are the most committed. And entrepreneurship, it's a marathon. It's a long-term game. There's no overnight success. I wish there was. And even every time you see what appears to be an overnight success, you don't see the years that person put in without the recognition or the pay to get to where they are now. So get committed to a year, give it a good old college try, pay attention to your numbers, keep those scientist goggles on, and always wrap up your damn Instagram stories so people aren't lost and confused about what you're sharing.
Absolutely. I love that. And I encourage everyone at home to be taking down notes during this session. If you need to review it, definitely go back and review it. This is some of the most amazing tips and strategy that you can put together for growing your Instagram account, and then therefore, hopefully transforming your business and your life to actually go after and live the digital nomad life that you do desire. So Tyler, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to continue the conversation with you. Where can they go to do that?
Yeah, so the crash course I gave you today in Instagram marketing is a part of a bigger process that we teach our students and what we call the follower to fan framework, which is a complete strategy for creating better content on Instagram and posting that content regularly, finding the right followers, and converting your Instagram account into a sales machine. It's an approach for Instagram marketing, messaging, positioning, and branding. That's not about the vanity metrics. It's also not a beginner program. We're not about like, how do I find a GIF and Instagram story? Like, YouTube that. Don't pay anyone to learn that crap, okay? Like, you can YouTube that and figure it out. So that's what we do inside the follower to fan framework. We also give our community things like content guides to help them plan their posts. We have a team of coaches that are in there. We do Instagram account audits, all kinds of great stuff. So if you want to learn more, you'll want to go to tylerjmccall.com/free. What you're going to find there is my free Instagram masterclass. It's about an hour long. So I'm sorry you got to sit through another hour of me talking, but it's just the way the world works. And I'm going to walk you through the complete framework and then tell you more about our program and give you the opportunity to join us. You can't just go and buy the thing off the shelf because I want to make sure you're really bought in first. So tylerjmccall.com/free, and you can check out that free Instagram masterclass. And then from there, you can come hang out with us inside the Follower to Fan Society.
Amazing. And I encourage everyone to go check that out as well. So Tyler, I just want to say thanks again for taking the time today to share some amazing big truth bombs around Instagram and helping people, really take control of their account and really growing that to the place that they want in their lives and in their businesses. So thanks for that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.